Hey, Professor, this is Daniel Goodrum with my individual project. So for mine, I did the key logging and playback functionality for the game. So what I did was I made the key logging system a singleton, so it's going to be initialized on game startup, and that's going to take place in the game initialize so that the user has access to it. And so here it's just initializing by inputting a specific enum that's going to set it to either a live key input or a key playback input. So the live key input is pretty straightforward. It initializes for live key input by going in and deleting the previous one, and that's all it does. So it's not reusing the file every time. Then on update, all it does is increment the frame, so it knows exactly what frame cycle it's utilizing when it's accessed during that frame. And that comes into play in playback. And the nice part about that is the frames always sync up. So if you freeze it or anything, it doesn't affect it at all. It just takes the given key that's pressed, it gets the state, returns that to the user or to the function that called it, and then if it was pressed, it creates a new key tracker, and then that struct gets stuck into a list, and then at the end of on terminate, when the destructor's called, it goes through and clears the list, but as it clears it, it writes it out to the file. That was where I was having the issue with the input-output stream stuff when I was using the C read-write, and it wasn't working. So once I started using the IO stream stuff, it worked fine. And it works fine with only using ints instead of doubles, like I was talking about earlier. So here, I just have the base class so that the key logging system can have either the playback or the live input done on load. And then here are some of the things I messed around with, some structs that I haven't gotten rid of. But the only two I'm really using are the key tracker and the header. So the header shows how many total are in it when it goes to write it, and then the tracker itself is what's going to be fed in. And then on the key playback, it goes through, and on load, it loads everything from that file into a list, and then those are accessed during runtime. What it does on update, I did this because I didn't want I wanted to have a small number of lists, or a small number of key presses that are accessible for each time, for each frame. So what it does is every update cycle, it goes through the list and it checks if the cycle is the current cycle, and it pushes that to another list, and then so the list usually only has a couple in it for every frame. So that way, when a key is pressed on playback, when the key should have been pressed, it goes through and only has to scan through like 5 things, and that way it's pretty efficient. And then the destructor just goes in and deletes everything. So I'll show you how it works. Works pretty easily. Just drive around. I can rotate my turret. I can lay mines. Fire bullets, and then I'll stop that, and then If I go up to my initialize and switch it from live keys to recorded keys and run it that way, it'll do exactly what it did before. So I'm not pressing any keys, it's just going around and doing exactly what I wanted it to do before. So yeah, aside from the issue with the F-right thing, which I still don't know why it was doing that, and the few things that I was trying to do at first where I was way off base, it wasn't too bad. And everything gets cleaned up, in my engine. It goes and deletes it here. Yeah, so it's about all I have for that. All of my systems, I couldn't find anywhere that I wasn't properly cleaning up memory. Aside from the like my user code, I was pretty sloppy in some of that. So I'm sure there's a few memory leaks just from the user code, but on the engine side, I think that part of my project is really solid. I didn't do any of the other systems with the particle system and the font sprite system. I tried to dabble around in the sprite fonts, but I didn't end up getting to it. So that is all I have. I hope I didn't miss anything. If you have any comments or concerns, please let me know. Thank you so much.